Welcome everyone to the Student Organization Advisors Lunchbox Series. It's our first one for the semester. My name is Dan Goodwin. I am the coordinator for student organizations here through the Office of Student Activities, which is in the Division of Student Affairs. Thank you all for being here in the cramped, poorly lit, computer lab. But hopefully everybody can see this. But I'm excited for you all to be here. Today we're going to go over a few things. Really, what we're going to go over is the presentation that I give to the student org leaders, just so that we're all on the same page about what's being said versus what they may be bringing to you versus apparently anything that I've told them, which could be exaggerated, but who knows. So everybody could be on the same page about that. And then we're going to watch our risk management video. I'm really excited about that. We just redid it. It's 20 minutes, but it's actually a really tolerable 20 minutes to talk about risk management. But I know that as advisors, if you haven't gotten it already, that it's mandatory to do it anyways. But I felt like it would be helpful for anybody really to watch it. So we'll do that, and then if you have any questions at the end, feel free to ask away. So we'll get started. So just so everybody understands, the qualifications to be a registered student organization, you have to maintain at least 8 members. There, time to time, could be a scenario in which somebody comes forth with less than that. With our new student organizations, we generally don't allow them to start with less than 8. Now, with some of our returning student organizations, we'll work with those student organizations on their recruitment and just on their numbers, just provided that if you come into a school year and you're planning on recruiting and you don't have 8, there's not really a mechanism in place if you're not registered to be able to go out and actually officially recruit for new. So that's just really the breakdown on membership. And then 2, in any organization, have to be officers. As far as the breakdown of that membership, organizations that have national charters or are part of a larger organization other than the University of North Texas, their charter may allow for non-institutional members. If you are solely a student organization and you're not a part of a bigger association, then all members would have to be UNT students. All right. As far as the full-time faculty or staff advisor goes, the best way that I can put that is that if all of you are in this room, you're hopefully a full-time faculty or staff member. Our graduate assistant in our office, Sarah, she would not be able to be eligible to be an advisor, either in a primary sense or a secondary sense. They wouldn't officially be able to be listed as that. And that really goes in line with liability and just the things that we share here, just being able to hold accountability in that sense. So that's the breakdown on advisors. So as far as registration goes, and at this point we're into a month of the semester. A lot of our registration has already taken place, but if organizations still need to be out and registered, this presentation is really the last step for a lot of them. They've updated their org sync profiles, they've gotten the advisor to approve things, and they've probably missed a step, and that's listening to me talk for an hour. And so we have been holding sessions 3 times a week at this point. Now we're starting to kind of taper off. So if you're part of a student organization and there's a question right now as to whether they're registered or not, our next orientation session is October 7th, and they would need to get into that before they're officially registered. Registration just allows for them to go to events, reserve rooms, things of that sort. And this semester or this year, we're working with the registrar's office to verify GPAs for our officers. We ask that our officers maintain a 2.25 GPA. I'm a huge advocate for out-of-classroom involvement. I've done a lot of prior research on it, so I'm a huge fan of it, but not at the lack of academic commitment. So very soon here we'll be getting a list from the registrar, and we'll be going through that list. As far as the repercussions to anything, I don't know that I would call it that as much as just an ongoing conversation with any of those that would fall under that category, just to see if there's a plan involved to get the studies going in the right direction, or if they need to take a little bit of time away from their leadership in that organization to focus in on some other things. So benefits to being a registered student organization. So we have a database. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. We have a database that you don't even have to be logged into OrgSync to get on. That has well over 350 organizations right now on it. If you're not a registered student organization, you wouldn't be found. For a lot of organizations that are kind of a niche group, I'll take the Pokemon Club, for instance. We don't have multiple Pokemon clubs. And so if you had somebody that was very involved and interested in that kind of hobby or that topic, you wouldn't be able to be found for that person. And so that's the first thing. The second thing, which all of your student leaders right now are wanting to do, and if you're an advisor and you're really interested in when those meetings are happening, you wouldn't be able to get a meeting space on campus if you weren't registered. So that's most likely the number one priority for student organizations right now. The ability to participate in university-sponsored events, anything from homecoming, Mean Green Fling, which was a week before school started. You had to be a registered student organization in the spring semester prior to be able to be involved in that opportunity. So that was a huge recruiting effort for a lot of folks. So you're just not able to be featured in an official way, get a table on campus, anything like that. The ability for Eagle Awards. So Eagle Awards is in the spring. It's our kind of our culmination to the year. It's a great way to honor all the past accomplishments. There will be some award winners certainly, but mostly it's just an opportunity to give yourself a pat on the back for a lot of hard work. Student Organization of the Month. We do that each month, so we just found out who our September Student Organization of the Month is. So that'll be announced here shortly. But applications are due by the middle of each month. And it's really easy to find the form. You just go on OrgSync and be able to find it there. And you also get some free money for being Student Organization of the Month. It's a $100 co-sponsorship that we'll spend on your behalf. And that's a great opportunity for some organizations that maybe are lacking in funds, or they have something they'd like to do, whether that's even just getting a table skirt so when they're out on campus they can better represent themselves. We do 100 free black and white copies per semester. A lot of organizations don't realize that. And a lot of organizations, especially student organizations, want to come by the library and try to get free copies. To my knowledge, it's not readily available for them. They just need to come into our office in Stovall Hall, 117, and our front desk will make copies of whatever they would like. And so instead of incurring that cost themselves, we'll take that on for them. So again, as the advisor, if you know that a flyer's going out and they're asking, where they're going to make copies or who's going to do that, just have them stop by our office and we'll do it for free. Eagles Nest funding, that's through student government, and they're allocated a certain amount of funds per semester or per year to allocate to student organizations. That's really one of our only mechanisms in place for student organizations to be able to actually get any sort of funding for any upcoming event, initiative, program that wants to go on. And I'll talk about that here in a little bit. Checking accounts. So this is a huge thing going on for student organizations right now. So if you have new leadership within your student organization, most likely the officer from the previous year has graduated, or maybe they're not an officer for this year, and they need to be removed from the checking account. We can do all of that. If your student organization that you advise has never had a checking account, but they're very interested in that, we can help you with that as well. In either case, you would need to stop by our office to get a verification form. For the updating of the account, we just need the names of the people that are going to be placed on the account, and the names of the people that need to be taken off of that. We'll get that signed away. You'll need to sign off on that as the advisor, and then they can take that into Wells Fargo, located in Stovall Hall, and make those adjustments. It doesn't generally take all that long, maybe a week at the most. And again, the same thing would apply if your organization has never had a checking account, but you know that you need to set one up. We just need the names of who's going to be placed on there. You can sign off on that and bring that in. It's not mandated by any means. There's not really a mechanism in place that you could even kind of assert yourself onto the checking account. That's really up to the student organization themselves if they'd like to, place you as a member on that account. But that's not something that you're mandated to even do. But what is mandated is your signature to approve whatever action is going on there. So moving on to student organization policies, we're in a temporary union right now, so there's not really banner space to be had. But in terms of outdoor banner use, if your student organization came up to you and had a question as to whether they could hang a banner on campus, they would just need to go through event services, scheduling services. So that's located right next door to us in Stovall Hall. They can go in there and make that request. Banners generally are left up for 2 weeks maximum. And when I talk about banner, I mean more of like a canvas material that has 4 holes, in the corners, kinds of things. It is open to the whole university. Now, if you are associated with a learning community or a school, within the university, and you wanted to hang a banner within that facility, you certainly could talk to the facility managers at that given building to work out an arrangement as well. Certainly. So, if at any point in time in a university space your banner could come down, just at the university discretion, whether they had something that wanted to go up in its place, and I would surely hope that there would be some prior notification to that, and that you wouldn't just be strolling around campus and all of a sudden not see your banner and find out that it's with facility services. But that could be the case. Just contact our office. We'll look into it for you. Moving on to signs, posters, ads, and branding. So there are certain areas on campus that your student organization can post signs and posters. We just ask that if you're going to be in a certain building that has a bulletin board by any means and it's not open, therefore you don't see any outside advertisements on it, it's not just readily available for you to put a pin up on there with your sign. We just ask that you clear that with the building that your students want to post in. And that's really for signs and posters. What we really ask is that you do not post any sort of signs or posters. Don't affix them to light poles or light posts. Don't affix it to the construction zone for the union. Don't staple it to a tree. Don't tape it to a tree. Stay away from any sort of structures outside on our campus. And as far as chalking goes, and we get this time to time, please do not encourage your students on how to get the word out about their student organization or an upcoming event. Please don't have them chalk the pavement around campus. If you've seen that as you're walking through campus, they surely haven't done that with our permission or anybody at the university's permission, to be honest. And I get posters and signs brought in my office all the time from organizations, and so people are looking for that. So just if you're having a conversation with your student org as far as what they can and can't do, we really ask that they adhere to those policies. As far as branding goes, a lot of your student organizations use some form of the UNT logo, and then kind of add your own organization to that. As far as our policies on that go, if you're going to send something out in a mass sense, or you're going to make t-shirts that you're going to sell out to others and it has the UNT logo on it, we just ask that you send it over to URCM. They're not going to tell you like a vendor that you have to use. They're going to have a quick turnaround for your student leaders to be able to do that. They just want to make sure that the UNT logo isn't being used for anything inappropriate, or that it's not being kind of messed in such a way that it doesn't look like a UNT logo anymore. They just want to have a quick look at that before you do that. Now, if it's just something internal and you're not really putting it out for wide dissemination, I wouldn't worry about that.
You used the word URCM. Would you tell us what that means?
So that's our university marketing department. I'd be more than happy, since I have the list of names here, to send that link out to their website. And they really just oversee all of the official university logos and use of that. But again, I just want to be kind of clear on this. If it's not really being disseminated out to a wide variety of people and you're just using it more so internally, I wouldn't worry about that. As far as solicitation goes, both non-in-person and in-person, any attempts to sell items just need to be approved before you do that. So the best way that this would really work is if your organization is putting forth a tabling request, that they just put in their request when they do their request form that they are going to be selling some sort of item or offering up some kind of service, whatever the case may be, so that our group can take a look at that and just be aware. Most likely, if they're just out there doing a tabling and we don't have any sort of prior knowledge that they're going to be selling something, that we would shut that down temporarily just to make sure that they get all the forms that they need signed. Yep?
I'm assuming that that does not include when they're signing up for membership and have to pay their dues?
That's correct.
Okay, and or if we've sold T-shirts online that are just for the group and we're just passing them out, or would we have to do that?
Now, if you're just passing them out, that's fine. But the best way I could put it is if you had a table and you were telling people that they could come by the table, pay $10 to you, and they'd get a T-shirt, or go by, if you had a flyer or even a poster that said, go on this website, you can sign up to, purchase a T-shirt or whatever the case may be. That's more so what I was talking about in that regard. Also, if you're offering a service, the best way I could put this maybe is like if you were offering tutoring for any reason and there was a cost associated to it or a service that your group was offering up, we just want to know about it in advance. And so that really kind of takes care of the both in-person and flyer part of it. So if you were hanging a flyer in a building that was offering some kind of a service, we just want to know about that. And then if you were in person to do that. Food and drink, so every facility is a little bit different. The rec center could be way different as far as their food and beverage policy than the BLB could be. But if you're going to do any sort of a meeting or an event or a program and you plan on having food and beverage there, just make sure that you're having your student leaders notate that on their event form. And so, and I'll get into that here later about what that means, but essentially that gets sent over to our risk management person in charge of food and beverage. Her name is Vicki Coffey. She'll get back nearly immediately on this, whether she approves it or she just has more questions for that. That doesn't necessarily result in like this large meeting or anything. It could be as simple as an exchange of some emails or a phone call about how to best go about that. So if you wanted to do a bake sale, let's say your student organization wanted to do a bake sale, Vicki Coffey is going to make sure that the goods were baked in like a certain kitchen and that there was food handling, and there may need to be a certificate involved for these kinds of things, just for something even as simple as a bake sale. But if you had a meeting coming up and your students wanted to bring Twinkies, I'm sure that she's just going to make sure that they're pre-packaged and that there's not going to be really much to that. And so she'll probably just approve that immediately. But just have your student leaders understand that they need to be notating that when it comes time for that event or a meeting. So right to free speech and assembly. So the university as a whole, especially student organizations, we definitely support the free right for speech and assembly on campus. What we want to take in mind, though, is there are designated spaces that are that are designated for free speech. Those can be worked through both our event services in Stovall Hall. They can definitely arrange for that space, as well as just collaborating with the Dean of Students office as well. The best way that I can put this is if your group is wanting to convene for any matter, and let's say that there's a large attendance that's going to be expected, we would definitely suggest just getting that registered up beforehand so that people are aware of what's going on. Depending upon the nature of the request or the nature of the topic, if a police officer would need to be there to ensure safety, or just to make sure that there wouldn't be a competing organization infringing on your space, we want to make sure that that's available to you. And as far as space goes, and hopefully nobody infringing on that, we just want to make sure that you have that space that you want. We can reserve those spaces, and we can ensure that you have what you're looking for there. Anytime that your group wants to have any sort of amplified sound, we would like to know about that in advance, whether that's speakers for music, speakers just as far as like a microphone goes, if you're wanting to speak out on anything. So those would be some of the variety of different things that getting some pre-registration involved in that would be ideal. Now, as far as at the end of the day, the primary mission of the university is academic in nature, and so if you're right outside of a classroom building and you're kind of distracting from that class and the class can't be going on successfully, we may have to move you to another space that it's not like right in front of a classroom for you to still maintain your right, but not get in the way of the mission of the university. So at this point in time in the presentation, I want to transition over to our risk management video because for the next few slides that I would have with our students, the video is going to take the place of that. And so let me just pull that up and enjoy our video that we just recently made. Compliments of our sound guy over here, Kyle. He had worked really hard on this, and hopefully y'all enjoy it and get a lot out of it.
The Student Organization Risk Management. Welcome to Student Organization Risk Management Training, brought to you by the UNT Student Activities Center. In 2007, the 80th Texas legislature added Section 51.9361 to the Education Code regarding risk management training of officers and advisors of student organizations. It requires the university cover 8 different topics related to risk management. It requires advisors to attend risk management training once and specified officers to attend annually. And it requires these officers and advisors to report on the training's content at a meeting of the full membership of the organization or club. As a result, you might want to take some notes and ask follow-up questions if you need clarity. In order to ensure UNT is in compliance with the law, you will be asked to take a quiz at the end of this training. You will need to pass with a score of at least 70% to earn credit for your participation. As previously mentioned, we are required to cover 8 topics, which include alcoholic beverages and illegal drugs, hazing, sexual abuse and harassment, fire and other safety issues, travel, behavior at events, adoption of a risk management policy, and issues regarding persons with disabilities.
Hello, Mindy. I love that stuff. Been drinking it for years. You know, I heard they recently decided to add more hops to it.
The first topic is possession and use of alcoholic beverages and illegal drugs, including penalties that may be imposed for possession or use. Hopefully you know that Texas law states that one must be 21 or over to possess or drink alcohol. As you also probably know, being at a university with a mixture of students above and below legal drinking age causes problems for students and student organizations when underage students decide to drink. As a result, UNT has created specific policies for drinking on campus. Therefore, a student and student organization is not only subject to criminal and or civil proceedings regarding violations of the law regarding both alcohol and illegal drugs, but also university proceedings through the Dean of Students. So if a student or advisor is found in violation of the law, he or she could face a number of sanctions from community service to jail time. And if found in violation of the Code of Student Conduct, a student could face sanctions ranging from a warning through expulsion from UNT. University policy prohibits the unlawful possession, use, or distribution of alcohol and illegal drugs on all university property, and as part of any official university activity, except as expressly permitted by law and university policy or regulation. Exceptions would include things like official tailgating and at events with appropriate permission. Student organizations desiring to sell, serve, or consume any type of alcoholic beverage on campus must obtain permission at least 10 business days in advance via the Alcohol Use Request Form, with the exception of the Union, Gateway Center, and Apogee, all three of which arrange presence of alcohol and distribution. If an organization desires to have alcohol at an on-campus event, please refer to Policy 10.14, Use of Alcoholic Beverages, for more info.
Seniors, we tried. We gave you all a chance, but we're just gonna have to try something else, won't we? Seniors? You love us. Smile. You love us. It's over! Supper, sisters! Supper! Eden, open wide! Open wide!
The second topic is hazing. As defined in state law and by UNT policy, hazing means any intentional, knowing, or reckless act occurring on or off campus of an educational institution by one person alone or acting with others directed against a student that endangers the mental or physical health or safety of a student for the purpose of pledging, being initiated into, affiliating with, holding office in, or maintaining membership in an organization. The term includes any type of physical brutality such as whipping, beating, striking, branding, electronic shocking, placing of harmful substance on the body, or similar activity.
All right, freshmen. Tell you what, for being such brave little kids, I'm only going to give each of you 5 licks. Okay? All right, grab a pole then, kids. Let's get going.
Any type of physical activity such as sleep deprivation, exposure to the elements, confinement in a small space, calisthenics, or other activity that subjects the student to an unreasonable risk of harm or that adversely affects the mental or physical health or safety of the student. Any activity involving consumption of a food, liquid, alcoholic beverage, liquor, drug, or other substance that subjects the student to an unreasonable risk of harm or that adversely affects the mental or physical health or safety of the student. Any activity that intimidates or threatens the student with ostracism that subjects the student to extreme mental stress, shame, or humiliation that adversely affects the mental health or dignity of the student or discourages the student from entering or remaining registered in an educational institution, or that may reasonably be expected to cause a student to leave the organization of the institution rather than submit these activities. And any activity that induces, causes, or requires the student to perform a duty or task that involves a violation of the state penal code. Keep in mind that a student's willingness to participate in any of these activities does not mean that an activity is not considered hazing, nor is it a defense to any charges of violating UNT policy or state law. So just because a student doesn't mind or wants to participate in the activity, if it meets any of the previously stated criteria, it's still hazing. Hazing is not only a violation of code, but also a violation of state law. A student or advisor violates this policy and state law if he or she engages in hazing, solicits, encourages, directs, aids, or attempts to aid another in engaging in hazing, recklessly permits hazing to occur, or has first-hand knowledge of the planning of a specific hazing incident involving a student at UNT, or has first-hand knowledge that a specific hazing incident has occurred, and knowingly fails to report that knowledge in writing to the Dean of Students or other appropriate university official. So even if you don't engage in the hazing itself, as an officer or advisor, if you know about it or allow it to happen, you are in fact violating university policy and state law. A student could be expelled from UNT for being found in violation of hazing, and a person is also subject to civil and criminal sanctions for violating state law. Offense of failing to report is a Class B misdemeanor. A violation that does not cause serious bodily injury to another is a Class B misdemeanor. Any other offense that causes serious bodily injury to another is a Class A misdemeanor. Any offense that causes the death of another is a state jail felony. Depending on the severity of the case, all of these criminal sanctions would include a fine and/or jail time. In addition, an organization violates this policy and state law if it condones or encourages hazing, or if an officer or any combination of members, pledges, or alumni of the organization commits or assists in the commission of hazing. An organization could be suspended from UNT for being found in violation of hazing, and is also subject to civil and criminal sanctions for violating state law, which include a misdemeanor offense punishable by a fine of $5,000 to $10,000 if the court finds that the offense caused personal injury, property damage, or other loss of at least $5,000 to or up to double the amount lost or expenses incurred because of the injury, damage, or loss. The university may grant immunity from university-imposed sanctions for a violation of this policy to each student who voluntarily testifies against an individual who or organization that violates this policy. Any person who reports a specific hazing incident involving a student to the Dean of Students or other appropriate official of the university is immune from university-imposed sanctions that might otherwise be incurred or imposed. The same goes with criminal prosecution. A person will be granted immunity from prosecution for reporting it. For help regarding hazing, please see resources on the UNT Dean of Students website. Contact Student Activities and/or the UNT Hazing Hotline, 940-369-STOP.
Water. Yep. All right. See if this thing's working. Oh! Oh my God! Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you know what? I think I can make out our little friend right there.
Stop it.
Ooh, Shabbat Shalom. Somebody's circumcised.
Okay.
The third topic is sexual abuse and harassment. It is a violation of the code to engage in acts of sexual misconduct, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, sexual exploitation, sexual violence, or sexual coercion as defined by state, international and federal law, and university policy. Sexual harassment is defined in the code as unwelcome conduct of sexual nature, including but not limited to unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, sexual violence, and other verbal, nonverbal, or physical conduct or sexual nature. What do you do if you need help? If it is not related to employment status, students should report harassment violations to the Dean of Students. UNT employees should contact Human Resources. If you or anyone in your organization becomes a victim of sexual assault, abuse, or violence, notify the police immediately and go to the hospital for an examination. Victims may choose to have someone to take them to the hospital, or a police officer can meet them at their location to provide transportation. The police officer will need to obtain a statement describing the details of the assault. A counselor from the Denton County or Dallas Rape Crisis Centers will be contacted to meet with victims at the hospital. The counselor will talk with victims and inform them of their options involving counseling. The fourth topic is fire and other safety issues, including the possession and use of a firearm or other weapon of an explosive device. This is a combination of a number of policies all in one section related to safety issues. University policy requires students and student organizations to follow fire and safety code within buildings, which means enforcing a fire capacity within rooms, for example, for meetings or events. Before you have a meeting or event, know the capacity of the room and don't let in more people than the maximum. University policy now prohibits camping on university property, with a few exceptions, like tailgating. For more info, see policy 18.1.24.
Here's my ball! Oh, yeah!
University policy and state law prohibit carrying weapons on university property and onto property utilized for university programs or activities, even if off campus. It is a violation of the code to have unauthorized use or possession of ammunition, explosives, or other objects that are dangerous or flammable or that could cause damage by fire or explosion to persons or property. It is also a violation of the code to tamper with or misuse security or safety equipment, like fire alarms.
Seatbelts, everyone! Please let this be a normal field trip. With a friend? No way!
Cruising on down Main Street, you're relaxed and feeling good. Next thing that you know, you're seeing.
The fifth topic is travel to a destination outside which the area of the institution is located. If your student organization is traveling, you must follow University Policy 18.4.5 Student Travel Policy, which is mandated by state law. The policy applies to activities or events that are located more than 25 miles from campus, and when travel is required by the student organization or funded by and requires use of a vehicle owned or leased by the university. The policy discusses different safety precautions for different modes of travel, car, plane, etc., including, among others, common sense, following the law, for example, wearing seatbelts, maintaining van capacity at 10 individuals, and upholding sleep requirements and mileage per day limits. If the travel meets the criteria of the policy, an organization must obtain written approval for the travel from its UNT faculty staff advisor or the department head responsible for funding or organizing the travel before the date of the event or activity.
The sixth topic is behavior at parties and other events held by a student organization. Much of this topic is indirectly covered in previous sections: alcohol, sexual abuse, hazing, etc. If a student organization is holding an event, which is generally anything more than a meeting of members, on campus, it must submit an event application at least 15 business days prior to the event if the event is considered at least a little risky to people or facilities, which may include expecting more than 100 people in attendance, serving food and or beverages, selling tickets for admission, inviting off-campus guests, handling hazardous materials like fire, a sledgehammer, etc., serving alcohol, involves any kind of physical activity like dancing, flag football, basketball tournaments, etc., or inviting minors. The decision about whether an event is a little risky is at the discretion of the university, not the student organization, so if there is any doubt about whether this deadline is applicable to an organization's event, err on the side of caution and submit it by the 15 business day deadline. Some of these event applications will be sent to the Event Safety Committee, or ESC, for review. When that happens, the organization will need to attend an ESC meeting. The purpose of the ESC is to ensure that all organization events with possible risks associated with them are executed in the safest way possible. In the meeting, the ESC will determine stipulations that the organization will need to comply with in order to hold the event, which could include things like hiring police or purchasing event insurance. According to state law, organizations should adopt a risk management policy or plan. If you are part of a Greek social organization, you likely already have one. If not, you should create one. This should include standards to guide the organization in reducing risks at community service activities, socials, when traveling, or any other activity that your specific organization is likely to encounter. For example, say your organization is hosting a skit night open to anyone. Part of the risk management policy would be to identify risks that could occur for each activity of the event. In this case, for example, there is an injury on stage or even in the audience. Identify ways to reduce the identified risks and prevent potentially harmful things from happening. In this case, the organization would want to check equipment prior to use and make sure electrical cords are taped down so that people won't trip over them. Create a plan for what to do if something harmful does happen. In this case, plan ahead and have information on the nearest hospital, train event staff on the location of facility exits, and have a first aid kit at the event.
118. All right, fine, I'm 127.
Uh-huh. And it says here you were born in 1964, but that's not true either, is it? Is it?
No.
Can you tell me what it says here on your birth certificate under date of birth?
Your Honor, I object. What does this have to do with anything?
Overruled. Mrs. Cole, answer the question.
1965.
Now, let me get this straight. That would mean that you lied about your age to make yourself older. But why would any woman want to do that?
I changed it so I could get married.
And the truth shall set you free!
As you probably know, we live in a society that loves to sue, and unfortunately, if something bad happens, the person is likely to sue the organization, officers of the organization, and possibly others. In a court of law, if you can show that you made an effort to reduce risks and followed protocol listed within your plan, your personal and organizational liability will be decreased. If you have a national affiliation, the national organization should be able to help you create a risk management plan. If not, Student Activities can help. In the near future, organizations will be required to submit their plans to ensure compliance. State and federal law, Americans with Disabilities Act of 2008, as amended, and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 mandate equal access for persons with disabilities. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability in programs and activities, both public and private, that receive federal financial assistance. By Policy 10.15 University Policy Statement on Diversity, UNT does not unlawfully discriminate on the basis of disability in its educational programs and activities. UNT receives federal funds. The university must ensure that the university community, including student organizations, avoids discrimination and provides equal access in its activities. It is therefore the organization's duty to make sure an accommodation is provided if it is needed. So if a student with a disability wants to join your organization or attend an event or activity of your organization, the organization needs to ensure it is accessible. For example, for a student with a hearing impairment, it may be necessary to provide that student with a sign language interpreter at the organization's event. UNT Policy 18.1.14, Disability Accommodation Policy for Students and Academic Units, clarifies that students with disabilities should register with the Office of Disability Accommodation to verify the disability and thus be eligible to request an accommodation. The vast majority of accommodation requests are simple and inexpensive, and there are resources on campus to help you with these. Accommodation issues can become serious complaints or even lawsuits, so if your organization receives a request for accommodation, talk to Student Activities or the Office of Disability Accommodation for help, which may include helping the organization explore ways to fund accommodations. The Office of Disability Accommodation is located in Sage Hall 167 and online at disability.unt.edu. Finally, if you'd like to learn more about the subject, please visit the Student Organization Resources page on the Student Activities webpage. As has been alluded to, code applies to students and student organizations. A student group will be responsible for the actions and conduct of its members when one or more of its members, acting in the capacity of their membership, commit a violation of the code. Student groups found in violation of the code will be subject to disciplinary procedures and sanctions in the same manner as individual students, except that student groups cannot be permanently removed from the university. For organizations, sanctions vary from warning to loss of registered status or ability to have socials to suspension. For students, sanctions include a warning to expulsion. The code applies to conduct that occurs on university premises, at university activities, and also to conduct that may occur off campus that could adversely affect the university community and/or pursuit of the university's educational mission, or that could create a hostile environment for a student on campus. In a nutshell, this means that you represent UNT and your organization wherever you are. If you have any questions about any of the material in this presentation, contact Student Activities in Stovall Hall 117 at 940-565-3807 or at student.activities@unt.edu. Quiz time! As mentioned at the beginning of training, you will need to complete a quiz in order to ensure UNT is in compliance with the law. You will need to pass with a score of at least 70% to earn credit for your participation. You will be notified of your score via email. Please go to the website to take the quiz. Thank you for your time.
You don't have to take the quiz. You have all passed. So congratulations on that. Just a few more things, and then I will show everyone the event application because there's a lot of parallel between your involvement in that and your student organization as well. A couple opportunities for funding that we like to let the student organizations know of. The first is Eagle's Nest, and I alluded to this earlier, but this is through student government. What they have funds for are for organizations that want to hold an event or a program or an initiative that they need some extra funding for. And typically they would like to see that that activity or event would be open to the campus population. That's certainly something that they look for. As far as the timeline goes for it, they really would like to see this 4 weeks before the program. So as far as the student leaders are concerned, as far as if they would like to submit an application, it can be sooner than 4 weeks, but they may be at risk of not being considered for the funding. So if your student organization knows that they have something coming up later on in the semester and they're registered, it wouldn't hurt for them to apply for the funding. And what they'll do is they'll go on OrgSync, they'll type in Eagle's Nest, and the form will be there that they'll fill out on OrgSync. They just need to answer a few questions as to why they feel they're deserving of funding. What would they accept partial funding? And then they would need to put forth a budget for the event just to see where the gap is there. So they would be contacted directly from student government, and any questions that your student organization would have really can be answered specifically through student government. So they can be emailed at eaglesnest@unt.edu, or they could just go on the student government website to find out more information on that. Of course, they could always email me, and I would direct them to the proper resources as well. The only involvement that I have personally in Eagle's Nest funding is just to approve if they're registered or not. Now, if they're not registered, if your student organization isn't registered, you'll be declined at that time for funding, and we'll wait for you to become registered after that. Student Organization of the Month, again, the best way that I can put this is even if the student organization didn't obtain the funds, it's always great to get the word out about your organization. We get so many students coming into our office every week, every day, that are interested in being more involved on campus, and their interests are so varied. I would really love to get them plugged in with your student organization, but I have to know about what's going on. We went through about 15 different applications today for Student Organization of the Month, and obviously we only have one winner. But I'm going to hang on to those applications. I'm going to remember those organizations, and I would love to get them your way. I'm not going to promote organizations that I don't know anything about. I'd be more apt to help the organizations that I'm aware of out. So if your student organization is having any sort of doubt about, if it's a waste of time or not, or they don't need that $100, view it in way of a good marketing tool, because not only are we going to give you a $100 co-sponsorship, but we're also going to market on your behalf. You're going to be listed as a student organization of the month for that entire month, and so you'll be in different formats for marketing across campus, which again is a great recruiting tool. Moving on, really lastly, before I get into the event application and a little bit of OrgSync while we still have about 10 minutes, as far as fundraising goes, and a lot of student organizations do fundraise, and they'll do some smaller ones. I don't need to know per se about every fundraiser that's going on. If you've kind of co-opted with a local business and you're getting some fundraising through there, I don't necessarily need to know about that. Certainly if you're going to do a fundraiser on campus and it was an event that was raising money, we certainly would want to know, because event safety would want to know that some different parameters for your event. So in that way, there has to be really a determination whether it's on campus, it's an event, or it's something with a local business and it's not going to involve anything on campus. I don't need to know about that. What we do need to know about, and we would like to know about so that we can work with the Office of Advancement on this, is if your student organization is going to reach out to donors or alums or local vendors for any large amount of money, and it's really a directed campaign. We would just like to have some sort of record in advance of that. It's not uncommon that those individuals will call our office or the Office of Advancement and just ask if we've heard anything about it. And if we don't know anything about it, I don't know that that would bode well for the fundraising. They may just respectfully decline. And so we just want to be able to be informed about it so that we can support your organization in any way. This other topic about being tax exempt, this does come up with a lot of our student organizations. Inherently, you are not considered tax exempt, even though you are a student organization within the university. Obviously, the University of North Texas is tax exempt. There are some different ways in which you could obtain some sort of tax exemption. The one would be if you are involved in more of a national organization. You have a charter, you're part of an association. They may be able to allow you to use their tax exempt status for your business, and that's fine. The second thing is you could certainly apply for tax exempt status. However, they don't hand out tax exempt status much like they would just like a tax ID, so it's not the same. It's a very tough process. I think a lot of our student leaders don't anticipate that process, and they're uninformed going into it, and they kind of just feel like inherently they apply, they're going to get it, and it goes from there. That's certainly not the case. The third thing that we offer as a resource is if that registered student organization wanted to come by our office, we will print off an authorization letter that just states that they are a registered student organization at the University of North Texas, and as a courtesy, we would love for that business or that vendor to offer them a tax exempt status because they're a reflection of our institution. That's about all that we'll do, though. That's our limitation. We're not going to make a call on the organization's behalf. Certainly, if you're dealing with more of a national vendor, they may not be inclined to do that. But if you're dealing with a local vendor that's used to dealing with the university, they'd be more apt to float that to them. But that's completely on their discretion, and they're well within their rights to say no. But your organization is well within their rights to come by our office and grab an official form from us. Yes, sir.
A student organization that is also a religious organization will have tax exempt status, will it not?
Yeah. So if your organization is affiliated with a church organization, and your church organization is okay with you using their status, that's fine as well. It falls in line in that same category as it being part of more of a national organization. All right. So moving on to the event application, I just want to go over with everyone that are not familiar with what the application actually looks like. In years past, it has been a paper form that the student has most likely come by your office to get signed. That's no longer the case. It's all online now. It's all electronic. Hopefully by the click of a button, you would be able to either approve or deny the request. So we're really excited about that. We hope that it makes for a more efficient process. I just want to say in general, though, when it comes to your approvals on things, certainly anything that needs to be approved on OrgSync as far as their profiles go for your student organization, they need your approval as the advisor. Please be checking your junk email. The email notification is going to be an automated message coming through OrgSync, not through me, and not through your student organization leader. So you would get an OrgSync email that essentially would say your review has been requested. And so you would open the email, click on the link, and then look at what you're reviewing, and then you'll be able to approve or deny that from there. Oftentimes, any sort of failure to receive it is just that people aren't checking their junk email. There could be a problem with the email address that's listed. We've had a few of those, and that's just kind of entry error, basically. So our office is more than happy to change those things and look into it further, but those are some of the primary reasons as to why you may not be getting those requests, or they're not being handled in a timely way. We've just been having some issues there. So moving on to the event application, and I'll pull it up. The event application can be found at a variety of different places. Certainly your student leaders are being given the rundown of this application in their orientations, and they are getting email notifications about it as well. So as far as them getting to the links, it is accessible for them. The easiest way that I would tell you to access the application form would be on studentaffairs.unt.edu. And from there in the search bar, you would just type in event application. And it's the second choice down, just where it says event application. You would click on this. It'll take you to a login screen. This really runs over some different policies. It goes over the submissions for the 15 days out at least. Right now, since we're in a slower period of time, we are not receiving as many applications. We're certainly going to be able to turn around a meeting request form much quicker than 15 days. But at the beginning of the semester, when we were getting literally hundreds a week, it was taking us a bit of time to get to everything. So I appreciated the patience. And so on the login screen, they would just log in with their EUID. All right, so you'll see on event title. Now, the word event is a little bit misleading. So anytime that your student organization needed to reserve a classroom for a meeting or even a tabling request, they would still go to this form. So the event application, it doesn't just apply to one-time events that they're going to be doing. So to reserve a classroom or a space on campus for any matter of things, you could go on here. So for event title, full organization name. So our event schedulers don't necessarily, they're not always familiar with what the acronyms are, so please spell out the name. The event contact name, this person could be different than your student organization president, certainly. The president name has to be here and the correct email address, because in addition to you having to approve the request form, the president of the organization has to approve it as well before we even can act on anything with it, okay? So that's why the email address is so important to get right, because once this is filled out, they get an email notification about it to their email. They open up that link, they approve it, or they deny it, much in the same way that you would. So without both of those approvals, we cannot move forward on it. So faculty and staff name, and make sure that they have your email address correct. This, again, in relation to the event application, this most likely is the number one thing that is holding up the student organization, is that they're in a hurry and there's a typo. If there's a typo, they're not going to get that email. Most likely what then would end up happening is that the advisor would contact our office. What we'll do is we'll get your correct email address. We will copy and paste the request form. We'll email it out to you ourselves, and you can just respond back to us, yes, I approve this meeting, I approve this event, and then we'll go in ourselves and edit that list for you, okay? But it's really important that they get that right. And then just on your end, I've told all of the student organization leaders that upon them filling this out, that they need to get in touch with you and let you know as the advisor, hey, we just sent in our application. Could you please check your email? You should have an email from us that is stating that your review is needed. And so hopefully they're doing that. And if they're not, then the efficiency and the time that's going to take to get it booked could be a bit longer. So when we talk about event basics, we just want to know some different things. What is the type of event? Is this your reoccurring meeting? So is this your semesterly, bi-weekly meeting? You can make that request through here. Is this a one-time event? You could do that through here as well. What kind of an event are you doing? For tabling, again, we ask that you specify if that's a tabling request. As far as requested locations, we have placed nearly every space on campus that we can book, all right? Now, in the course of filling out this application, your student organization leaders don't find the space that they really want. I have advised them to contact that facility themselves, and they will book that directly with them. These are the things that our schedulers, and they make up a variety of different places, can actually have the authority to book over, okay? Certainly the business leadership building is the most requested space that we have on campus. At this point, by now, they're a little low on space availability, so if they're emailing you or calling you and saying, hey, where's a good place to do our meeting, perhaps you don't float over the BLB as their number one option. But certainly they can pick it and we'll look into it. The other really great thing about this form is that if they have a preferred space, so let's say they want to be in Crumley Hall 121, they can place this preferred room in there, and that's the first place we're going to look for them. Now, if that's not available, then we'll look at their other selections that they've picked. How are they marketing the event? We ask for that. The event start time, setup time, how long is it going to take them to break down? We really just want to make sure that we're not, impeding on their event time. Please add clarity to your reservation request. This is as much for you as it is for us, so that if you're getting this request and it's going to come to you, you want to be able to look over that request, and hopefully you know what's going on, but hopefully you can read over the specifics of that event request. And so it's really important for them to be as detailed as they can be. When we talked about food and beverage, this is where our risk management person will automatically get notified via email that they have something they need to review. And so this goes here. Event activities, physical activity, solicitation, handling of hazardous materials. This is really where event safety could be brought into play. This could go into their queue if any one of these things is selected, because we may want to have more of a conversation with them in advance of their meeting, or actually set up a meeting to talk with them more. Anticipated number of students, anticipated number of faculty, any off-campus, and then overall. Now, if your student organization has a question of you and says, well, we're expecting between 40 and 80, tell them to put the higher number. We don't want to get to a capacity issue on any one of your spaces, all right? Any additional information they want to put in here, they can. And then they would hit submit, and then it gets into the email notifications. We hope that it takes, certainly less than a couple days at this point to turn around your request. But just, again, I want to reiterate that the schedulers won't even be able to see this thing until both you as the advisor and the president sign off on it. And then we will get to it as soon as we can. All right? So at this point, I am done with my presentation. And for this specific workshop, I really appreciate you all coming out and attending it. Hopefully you learned a little bit today in a sense of risk management, and hopefully what your student leaders are getting from us. And so hopefully everybody can be on the same page. I have business cards up here that I'm going to pass out to everybody. The best way to contact me is daniel.goodwin@unt.edu, but that's on my card as well. I'll get right back to you, I promise. And then anything else you need as an advisor, please don't hesitate to communicate with me. And I appreciate so much the work that all of you do for your student organizations, and it's just a really great thing to see and to be a part of. So thank you very much. And be on the lookout for our other workshops that we have going on. We'll have one coming up in October. that we're looking forward to. That's going to be more of a roundtable, kind of a best practices kind of presentation, so we get to hear from fellow advisors at that one. And then, of course, just be on the lookout for any other resources and that pertains to your student organization leaders. And again, I appreciate you being here. Have a good rest of your day.